Hello and good afternoon and welcome to another TA update. Today is the 9th of May and it's just coming up to 2 p.m. here in the UK. So I hope you guys had a nice weekend. The markets look like shit, so I hope you guys are all safe and that you haven't lost too much money. Hopefully you've been keeping up with the market reviews and with these TA updates, and it's kind of helped you stay on the right side of the market. So with that in mind, let's just crack on. The cryptocurrency heat map here, you can see that everything is in the red with very few exceptions. I think NEAR is in the green and there's a few more down here. I don't know if this is waves. There's a few more down here as well. KNC and WAX is 20 and 1% today. But I mean, apart from these outliers, everything is very much in the red, and it has been for the last few days. So with the normal markets, you can see also in traditional markets that the great majority, it's a mixed bag, the great majority is in the red, but there are a few outliers as well, especially here on the energy sector. Energy and minerals are kind of pretty much all in the green, but the great majority of it is in the red. So just before we go on, I wanted to give you an insight. There is an event happening this Wednesday, May the 11th, at around about 1:30 p.m. here UK time, and that's the CPI prints. I've put that in the market review. If you're not sure what it is, I explained there in a little bit of depth, and I also explained what you should expect from it. But that's Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. UK time, and so you should expect a little bit of volatility during those times. Okay, so moving on just very quickly, just got three charts here. I've got basically the S&P on the left, I've got the NASDAQ in the middle, and I've got the US dollar on the right. Why am I showing you this? Well, these two indices are kind of like really sort of important and very well correlated with Bitcoin, especially the NASDAQ and the S&P. I mean, they're both are, but the NASDAQ very much more so, So I just wanted to show you this because we are approaching, as you can see here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. This is a daily chart, and we're approaching an area of very low volume. Okay, so we are approaching support here. Even though this is, generally speaking, this whole area is low volume. This area here is what I'm interested in, a low volume node, and this should cause a reaction. I've also put a little green line there, so it's easy for you guys to identify. That's around about 12,200. Okay, so I expect the NASDAQ to bounce there. Okay, you can see that it bounced here already, way back in March 2021. This was when we had that COVID dump, if you like. That's where the price bounced. Okay, here we are again, all the way back down to that level, and this was resistance, and it had been largely untested. It's been tested once, as far as I can see, at least on a daily time frame. So I expect here to have at least enough for one or two bounces. Okay, so that's on the NASDAQ. And on the S&P, as you can see, it's also the same thing. We're very quickly approaching this level of low volume. Okay, low volume node. In fact, you can argue that this here is perhaps a little bit lower here. I'd go there to be a little bit more accurate, right? And we've not quite got there yet. Okay, where I mean, generally speaking, this is the area that I want to be looking for, and we've already tapped that, as you can see here. We've already tapped and we got rejected, but we'll see if it actually bounces there or not. Either way, this is an important level of support, and I would expect if it's going to bounce anywhere, it's going to be here. Again, it had been tested there, right? You can see here on the daily time frame, it's been tested 2 or 3 times there on those particular days, way back in May 2021, and here we are 1 year later, and we're testing that same area again. If you look closely, you can see that we've had 1, 2, just bear with me a second, we've had 1, 2, 3 tests of that level now. Okay, so this one is a little bit less conclusive, but the liquidity is being consumed as we speak. It's getting a little bit deeper, so this could go all the way back to the edge of this volume cluster here, or to the bottom of the rectangle, if you like. So all the way to here and still bounce. All right, so it could do something like this and then bounce. So, you know, don't be disheartened if it goes all the way through the order block, okay, or through the low volume area. But chances are sometimes, or most of the time actually, these reject, okay? These low volume areas tend to reject. And if they don't reject, usually what happens is we travel very quickly straight through it, okay? So obviously not as big as that, straight through it, and then it's a question of, are we accepted there as in this lower distribution? Does it get acceptance, or do we get rejected anyway and go back up? So that's the big question, if you like, and that's what everybody's looking at and what everybody wants to know, I guess. So keep an eye on that level. That's around about 3,993. Let's say around about 4,000. Okay, 4,000 is a level of interest, and a big round number as well. Of course, psychologically, it carries weight. So 4,000, like I said, I've been saying this for quite some time now, especially when we started entering this distribution. I said that this will be the line in the sand, and if we cross that, then the next level is 4,000, and here we are. So I expect this level to act as a bounce. If it doesn't, then we'll travel very quickly through that. Means we get acceptance up here, meaning rejected from the previous support, and we go all the way down to around about 3,600, which would be terrible news for crypto, of course, okay, because these assets are correlated. So meanwhile, the dollar is on a tear, okay? So if you look at the dollar here, this is the daily chart again, and we've smashed through levels of resistance time and time again, okay? So this was resistance, we smashed through that. This was resistance, we smashed through that. And then this was the final boss of resistance, we smashed through that as well. And these last points, we've just taken that, okay? So it does look like there's a little deviation going on here, right? So there's a little deviation at the top there. But, you know, for me, the important level of resistance is derived from the weekly chart, if you like, okay? So everybody was looking at 100. Of course, 100 gets sidelined. And for me, looking at previous price action, you can see here, this was previous support. Once we've lost it, the first time we come back, we got rejected. That's resistance now, okay? Then here we got resistance there. We've smashed straight through it, came back and tested it as support, right? Then we came back, tested this as support. Eventually it failed, and the price has not been back since, okay? So this was back in November 2002. So that's nearly 20 years ago, okay? So this is historical price action that for me is a high probability trade, okay? So yeah, I think this level here is an important level, 105, and then we've also got 109 there, okay? And after that, it's pretty clear that we could just go all the way to 116 with hardly any resistance. But the point is that we are approaching resistance on the US dollar. And if you don't understand why I'm showing you the US dollar, think about why, or think about what asset is Bitcoin priced against when you're trading. It's priced against the dollar, right? So is Bitcoin going down, or is the US dollar going up, or is it both, right? But either way, this is the inverse correlation. And of course I have to show it. So US dollar is definitely going up, but it's pretty much getting to resistance now, okay? The indices such as the S&P and the Nasdaq are arriving at support. So is it not safe to assume that we get a relief bounce? In my opinion, it is, okay? So anyway, this is just a narrative. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an expert in macroeconomics or geopolitical events. I'm just an ape with a keyboard that trades, okay? So I'm just sharing my thoughts and my bias, okay? So in terms of the Bitcoin chart, let's have a quick look here. This is the, let's start with the weekly chart actually, why not? So the weekly looks terrible. As you can see, like we couldn't even get above that 47k there, and then we just came down, and it just keeps coming down. And we hit an order block here. This is a weekly order block, and it's served for anything. It's served for just slowing down the price, right? It hasn't really had much of a reaction. You saw here the previous reactions. I had 3 taps there at that weekly order block, and the price reacted really well to that, okay? So in the last TA update, if you guys remember, I think it might have been on Wednesday or Friday, I did say that this order block, this level here, 34,700, could be strong support, okay? So, you know, just going by previous previous price action. So in fact it didn't. All it's done is that it's slowed down the price a little bit. So could we be approaching the bottom? Yeah, it's a good question. So let's have a look if we see and find any more confluence. I'll leave the VWAPs off for a minute. Okay, so this is the weekly order block. Like we said, the price has slowed down, but it's continuing to go straight through it. Okay, we do have a daily level down here, which is basically a market close on this particular day, right, at 29,500. But what I really want you to pay attention to is this low volume area, okay, which, like I said, has confluence with the edge of this weekly order block, the edge of demand. Okay, so what am I looking at? I'm looking at this level here, just above that 29,000. all right, so if I just take this level here off so that you guys can see what I'm talking about, I could put a rectangle there to make it easier. Okay, the edge of this volume cluster here Alright, you can see that now, I think. So I'm looking at the sort of this round here. Okay, 30,000, right? Or 30,500. For me, that's the line in the sand, okay? Once we get past that, of course, we've got another low volume node a little bit lower. We've got another one here at 28, which is what everybody's calling for. We've got another one here around about 25, and we've got another one here around about 21. I'm not really interested in those levels because you can see the discrepancy in volume, right? So when you think about it, compare this volume that we've got here to this volume that we've got here, and I mean, it's just crap, right? So 25,000 could potentially be a decent level of support, but you know, I'm looking really at this low volume node, a high volume cluster down here, for support really around about 19,620 if we are to break this level, okay? But we haven't gotten there yet. And at this point, after the market is dumped for so long, I'm very reluctant to be short, okay? So to be short is right here at the top, okay? Or maybe here, or maybe here, unless you're playing with intraday time frames, okay? But on a daily chart, like I'm giving you technical analysis on a higher time frame, this is the most stupid place to be short, okay? This is my personal opinion, right? You want to be short way up here when it's at all-time highs. But of course, you know, psychology doesn't work like that. When it's all-time highs, everybody wants to buy it. When it's at all-time lows, everybody's too scared to buy it and everybody wants to fucking sell it, which is just ridiculous. But anyway, this is what I'm doing, right? At this edge down here, okay, I've got a very clear invalidation, right, around about there, right? I've got a very clear invalidation of where I'm going to do it as a long position, right? Something like this. I've got a very clear invalidation of where the of where the price should go. Right, so I don't want to make this too complicated, but this is what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at the previous level of support here, right? So this was support, support, support until we broke it, right? So that's going to be my first target, right? And at these lows, I want to buy because a low volume area is always support until proven otherwise. Of course, the price can just go straight through it. And if it does, so be it. I know where the next levels are, okay? I know that I want to be trading way down here, okay, to buy again, right? So if the price falls straight through it and then comes and retests the level and it starts curling over, I know that's an entry for a short and I'll be targeting these levels here, right? But like I said, I doubt very much. I don't want to be going short without confirmation at these levels. At these levels, I'm looking for the price to do something like this, maybe a deviation to the downside, and a reclaim back inside of this area here, right? A reclaim back above this line here, right? So doing something like this, deviation, come back inside again, above what is it, 31,000, 32,000. For me, that's an entry for a long, and I'll be targeting, like I said, around about 37,500, something like that. Okay, so that's my play. That's what I'm wanting to do. That's what I'm looking for anyway here on Bitcoin. There's not really much else to be said. This looks like it's got plenty of momentum. It does look like it wants to come all the way down here. What I expect it to happen is that it comes all the way down here. It starts kind of like creating a little range, right? So perhaps a little bit shorter like this. Print a little bottom there, so everybody puts their stops there, right? Creates a little range, and then boom, sweeps those lows, okay? Takes out all the stops, falls back inside, and then rallies. That's my play, because I'm bullish at these levels, okay? I'm not bearish at these levels. Of course, the market is looking like shit. Everything looks like shit. The S&P, the Nasdaq, everything, you look at it and everything just looks like shit, unless you're buying rubles. But I don't think even that's looking too great. But yeah, so basically that's what I'm looking for. I mean, to be fair, right? There's an argument for both sides, okay? This level here, this area of low volume, right, it's acted as support so many times now. Okay, look at that. It's had like 3 or 4 taps there, 3 or 4 taps there, and then another one, big one here. Okay, so potentially this could completely fail. But to me, that's support until proven otherwise. I'm not going to go with any narratives of what's going on whatever. You know, for me, you know, it's support until proven otherwise. Of course, it's not a high probability trade. Okay, so you know, most people would say, you know, that's ridiculous. That's not support because it's been tapped so many times, and you know, they're probably right. Okay, but I've got good risk to reward here, okay, because I know where my validation is. All right, so at this level here, I'm interested in buying. My validation is round about 29,000 pounds, or so, no, $29,000, and my entry is around about 31,000. Okay, so for me, this is good risk to reward. So again, what I'm looking for is this doing something like this, reclaim back in. This is a good entry for a long, and I'll be targeting those levels there. All right, failing that, of course, like I said, the short position is that we come all the way down here, we start hovering at support like this, and then it breaks through, and it comes back up to retest, but instead of reclaiming this blue line here at $31,000, what it does is it starts curling over, and in that case, that's a short position. And with all this crappy sort of volume there, I'd be very inclined to not take profits until to around about $24,000. Okay, and eventually this level here. So that's what I'm seeing right now on the higher time frames on Bitcoin. There's not really much else that I can say on that. If I put the VWAPs on, see here on the quarterly is exactly the same thing. The 4 hour, we're still kind of pretty much the same thing. In fact, I'm going to do this on the 4 hour so that you guys can see, right? It's very difficult to find confluent levels at around about here, because we're right at the bottom here, right? But we're on the edge of a balance area. This is what interests me. Okay, so around about 31,000, something around about here. Okay, so if the price comes here and starts rotating like this, deviates to the downside and reclaims this line, for me, wherever the range is, it doesn't have to be there, right? The range could be anywhere. Let me just delete that a second. The range could be way down here, but this will find the bottom. Bottoms are printed, it take time, right? So once it finds the bottom and it starts ranging like this, I want to see liquidity engineering, which is basically where everybody starts entering their trades, right? Putting their bets on. So some people will be short and they'll have their stops way up here, and some people will be long and they'll have their stops down here. Okay, so the market will range like this, and eventually one of the sides is going to get taken, right? And it gets taken, and usually it's a deviation and reclaims it back up. But this is the confirmation that you need, is the reclaim, right? It's the same to the upside, right? So if it goes like this first, and then confirms that this resistance is now support, then it's going to rally, right? But if it comes all the way up here, takes those stops and re-enters the range, for me, that's just a deviation. It confirms that it was just a deviation and we're going to go down. All right, so I hope that makes sense. So range, and if you don't understand, I think I explained this on the last one on Friday. So range high and range low, whichever one gets rated first, that's basically, you want to see the edges of this range and you want to see if the price comes back inside. Okay, so if it ranges out, comes back inside, that's a short. If the price comes down out of the range and reclaims it again, that's a long. All right, so that's basically what I'm looking for, and this basically takes out all the liquidity from the stops, and also it wrecks out the breakout traders, you know. So it basically what it does, it's not some evil market maker that's doing this. It's basically just people that have got big wallets, okay, big whales, that they need the opposing liquidity in order to enter their trades, right? So if it, let's say for example a big whale wants to start accumulating here, he needs sellers in order to accumulate, right? If he wants to buy, because as soon as he starts buying, guess what, the price is going to start going up, right? Especially if you've got a big wallet. So this is the disadvantage that the whales have, is that they have to move with opposing liquidity, and so they paint the charts. Okay, so anyway, that's what I'm looking on Bitcoin. Let's have a quick look at Exocharts. Oh, and also actually just something that come to my mind here. You can see here, this is the liquidations map by the Kingfisher. And if you don't know what this tool is, I do recommend that you go on the website. It's the kingfisher.io. And you can see here, this is basically a map where the majority of the liquidations will occur. Okay, and you can see here the scale at the bottom. And you can see that we've got some large liquidations below us at around about, so all the way from 26,500 to 30,000 and 31,000 or something like that, right? So I think quite a few people would be liquidated there, around about 100 million or so. But look at this pink one that is sticking out like a sore thumb. Okay, we got like nearly 250 million now. Cumulative liquidations, we've got 6 million there, right? It just, the way it rises there. All right, so basically if the price was to rally first to around about 35,000 and then to 38,000, these guys would get completely liquidated. So, you know, all I'll say is that the majority of the time, price is constantly trying to find liquidity. So that's all I'm going to say, right? So is it possible that we'll leave those liquidations behind? Of course, I've seen it happen before, but more often than not, those liquidations get taken. And that's basically what I'm trying to say, okay? So let me just delete these brush strokes so that it's tidy for the next time. So I hope everybody's clear on that. If you guys got any questions, please ask in the chat, in the YouTube chat, and I will respond to them in between coins and stuff, all right? So hey Jay, good day mate. Yeah, we've had a good weekend, thank you very much. And you're very welcome, the likes of us, you're very welcome. So moving on to Exocharts, let's have a look at the volume profile first on the daily chart here. Okay, and you can see actually we had talked about this before when I highlighted that we were kind of just approaching this. Let me just change the color on this a second. When we were way down here, I think it was, and I said, you know, this is the edge, if you like, of the balance area. So I'd expected this to bounce here around about 37,000. It didn't bounce. We flushed straight down, and we took out this naked point of control. And then, of course, we went down first. So what happens is we come and take out the liquidity by the means of other points of control. The difference is here, actually, this one has not been taken yet. This continues to be naked. So I think a revisit a little bit lower to 32,000 is still in play. Okay, and then of course if we do rally up, we've got a naked point of control here at around about 37,000 and very close to that composite volume profile value area low, okay, which is this area here, right, around about 37,500. This is when I was trying to explain that swing trade that I was saying that I was going to take from 31,000, and I was looking at a target. This is the target, the previous level of support. significant support got lost. Now it needs retesting as resistance, right? It has confluence with the value area low of this composite here, and also it's got a negative point of control. So if we were to rally here, 37,500 is possibly where I'll close the trade, or at least take the great majority of it off, if that makes any sense. Okay, so if you were expecting me to say we're going to all-time highs as soon as we hit the bottom, that's not how it works. I trade level to level. Okay, so the level that I'm interested to trade at is around about $31,000. Okay, interested in buying, and the level that I'm interested in selling is at around about 37,500. I hope that makes sense. So moving on to, and I mean, let's just put the hypothesis that we lose this level, okay, that we go further down. You can see there's plenty of liquidity round about, but well, starting at 26,600 all the way down to, yeah, all the way to zero, basically. But yeah, no, it's not gonna happen like that. Yeah, I think this will take time, but you know, I personally think that we bounce it around about here, right? Especially because everyone and their dog are interested in shorting this to 28k. The whole of crypto Twitter is just jumping with excitement and glee that 28,000 next, 28,000 next. Everybody's going to be deleting their fucking tweets when this rallies now to 37,000, okay? Either that or they'll be saying, oh, well, we didn't say when. Either way, this is just market dynamics. We are at the edge of a high volume cluster. It's only natural that we bounce here. It could be a shitty bounce and we could like roll over and come straight back down. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see, right? Like I said, Wednesday should bring some volatility, so it'll definitely be put to the test, that level, even if we haven't gotten there yet. So that's it for the volume profile here on the daily. So let's move on to no, not the daily market profile. Let's go on to the monthly first. I saw the cat on Twitter as well saying this, which is a very good point. But if you don't know who that is, it's Jim Talbot, and he basically he did something that I've been doing for weeks now, which is basically just merging these profiles. Okay, there's 4 months of balance there, right? And if I just merge that together, you can see here I've got a value area high and a value area low. That's the gray rectangle that you guys can see there, and you can see that we broke out of that balance now, and we're kind of trying to seek balance elsewhere. Well, I think the balance will be set round about that sort of at the edge of the high volume cluster. That's basically the end of the imbalance, if you like, or the end of the balance area. So we will have to wait and see. This is like the last 4 months. I'm looking at the 12-month balance area. So, you know, we're kind of very closely approaching that $31,000 level, okay, low 30s. That's a big round number as well. I think that we bounce there unless something dramatic happens in the traditional finance world. But if it does, then guess what? The level to hit and the level to sort of like reclaim, if we have any chance of being bullish, will be this level here, right? Which is the value area low of the 4-month composite value, right? And where is that? Right in between 37,000 and 38,000. So let's say 37 and a half, right? Which is basically perfect confluence with what I was telling you there on the volume profile as well, all right? Which is this composite value area low there, all right? With the previous support there, all right? Just in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let's just go here. Previous support. What I've just told you basically a minute ago, where this low volume node is 37,500. All right, so that's what I've got on the higher time frames. If we have a look at the daily market profile, this continues to look crap. I mean, we kind of lost today's value again. All right, we opened outside of the previous day's value. And the previous day we were inside a value, we lost that as well. And there's just, you know, the speed has increased, as you can see here. It's slowed down a little bit now, but you can see the speed at which we left balance, okay? So basically when these overlap, let me just put the profiles there, right? So when these overlap like that, it's basically the market is ranging. And kind of, there are plays, of course, you can play intraday, but then look at the speed at which we came out of balance, right? And we come in balanced. And the markets are constantly seeking balance. And now we're kind of like So overlap, there's a little bit of an overlap there. This was the weekend, and the speed continues down. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm in no rush to long this. Okay, it could be 31,000, it could be 30,000, it could even be 28,000. I just don't believe it's 28,000 because everybody's expecting that, and the markets usually have a different way to deal with things. In fact, what might happen is, if I'm wrong and 28,000, I doubt very much it will hold. What will probably happen is it'll go straight fucking through all the way to 25,000. But I'm not convinced. I still think that this will bounce. But anyway, here on the market profile, you can see that we're looking at, let's expand the clusters here. We're basically looking at one-time framing. This has been one-time framing. And if you don't know what that means, in auction market theory, or in market profile language, if you like, is when every single bounce back, every single retrace doesn't take out the previous one. And basically that's exactly what's been happening. We've gone down, the retrace has not taken the previous high, right? Same here, we continue to go down with momentum. Okay, so when it stops momentum, it's basically when the market does something like this. These are the highs now, right? So if the market does this and it takes out the previous highs, even if it continues to rotate sideways, that's a sign that we're no longer one-time framing and it's slowed down the price. Okay, but at the moment we're still one-time framing. There's just no two ways about it. Could this be a little reversal here? We'll see. Okay, this one looks like it could be a reversal. This one looked like it could be a reversal. All of these looked like they could have been a reversal. So we'll just have to wait and see, okay? Like I said before, and I'll continue to say this, don't try and catch the knives, okay? This will not just kind of like, just go down like this and then go straight to the moon. It doesn't work like that, okay? Basically what happens is that we put a level low, right? And then we kind of range for a little while and then sweep those lows and then we go up again. So even after we've swept the lows and go back inside the range, there's always a chance to re-enter upon confirmation. So there's no rush at all, okay? So you might as well just wait for that confirmation. Of course, you'll never catch the bottom unless you're lucky enough to do so. But, if this kind of like goes all the way to the bottom there and then spikes up and then continues rally, then yeah, that's great. I'll wait for confirmation. I'd rather enter on confirmation. But, it's very difficult to catch a bottom. I'm quite happy just getting 70% or 60% of the move and still be in the money. So anyway, I'm rambling on. So let's move on back to TradingView. I've done the TradFi. I've done Bitcoin. Is everybody clear on that? Please, guys, let me know before I move on to Ethereum. But like I said, just to recap for the guys that have just joined, I am bullish at these levels. I want to wait for lower prices. I'm waiting for this kind of level down here, around about 30,500, 31,000, something like that. Okay, so I'm looking at this edge. Okay, the edge of this order block at the edge of this high volume cluster. This is a high volume cluster. Okay, there's a little distribution there. That's why I've got the rectangle or a low volume node that had confluence with the previous year's VWAP, or sorry, the current year VWAP. You can see it there, right? So this is resistance until proven otherwise. All right, but for me, this here is support until proven otherwise. And you could argue that it's been battered, but that's what I'm seeing at the moment, and I'm happy to put my money where my mouth is. All right, so it's all clear. So you guys want to go on to ETH? Good. All right, moving on. Moving on to ETH USD. So on the daily chart here, you can see very much in the middle of the distribution, right? So let's put these balance levels, which is basically the distributions you can see here, right? We're right in the center. We're right in the center of this distribution here, right? Where's the support? Well, the support is way down here, 2,000. Okay, that's basically this low volume area, right? This is classic, right? So let me just illustrate this for you. Price gets acceptance here. We bounce on the first -1 standard deviation of the VWAP, right? We come all the way to the VWAP. We get out of this balance with a green rectangle there. We get rejected off the top there at first, way back in March. We come down, we get also rejected from the green rectangle. So the price does as you can see here. So the price does this, comes back down and bounces, right? And what does it do? It goes all the way to the other side. Why? Because when the price, this is market dynamics, when the price enters a balance area, it has to firm up balance by touching both sides. There's only one thing that can disturb that, and that's the point of control. But other than that, that's usually what happens. You enter a balance area and you firm up both sides by visiting both sides of the balance. Okay, so what's happened here? It's exactly the same thing. We came inside, we got rejected, came back inside, got rejected again, but we keep getting rejected from the top one here, right? From the $3,000 level. Here was a really clear rejection with a big engulfing candle to the downside, right? So once we've done that, the market gains momentum and we're going all the way to where? To the other side of the balance, right? The other side of the balance, in my personal opinion, okay, there's a few low volume areas here, and there's a few low volume areas there, and there's another one here, but did it make a slight difference going up here? No, the market rallied straight through it, okay? So I think it's going to dump all the way down here to $2,000, all right? And that should be the bottom for Ethereum. Of course, if Bitcoin decides to rally before that, or at least to bounce before that, then of course, that Ethereum is so closely correlated, Ethereum will rally with it, okay? So there's a strong possibility that we kind of bounce here. There's a possibility that we bounce here. So there's one level. In fact, let me put the SR levels there, right? And let me take the balance. In fact, I should have started with I need to correct some of these levels. This was supposed to be support. It didn't hold, so it's now resistance. This was supposed to be support. It didn't hold. You can just see the extent of the bloodbath. This is supposed to be support here. Okay, so I've got 2,274 for ETH, and then another one at 2,078. And again, that's kind of like, these were edges. As you can see here on the volume profile, these were edges, low volume edges within the distribution, right? And they didn't hold as support. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, we've entered this balance area, so what do? We firm up balance by visiting both sides, okay? So I expect $2,000 at some point or another, okay? Especially if Bitcoin does not interfere. Another thing that I noticed on the weekly chart on Ethereum, however, let me just take the VWAP off for a second, is the weekly order block, all right? So if I look at the weekly chart here, very much the same situation as we had on Bitcoin. We have an order block here, right? You can see the order block clearly there. At round about the top of that is about 2,158, and guess where the market bounced there? It's bounced once there already. Okay, so do I expect that to hold? Yes. Of course, we might not go all the way to $2,000, okay? It might bounce right there, all right? So this is important to keep in mind as well, that this level here could hold as support, all right? In terms of SR levels, I haven't got one there, but I've got one just above and I've got one just below, all right? So maybe I should put another one there, just because. Okay, so there you go. There's another level there. 2,172 is where I've got that. Okay, but so yeah, so you guys see what I'm trying to do here. I'm just looking at the higher time frames, looking at these volume gaps, and just using those as resistance and support. Okay, if for some reason the CPI print is really bearish and the markets dump along with Bitcoin and crypto, then the next levels of support is sketchy, right? You've got very little. You've got another balance area here, right? Which is basically, I'm going to make that as red for now, right? Which is basically this volume cluster here. Okay, do you see that there? That's the volume cluster that we're talking about. And that goes all the way down to $1,500. So quite simply, if we lose $2,000, $1,500 is the next level. The only thing that can stop that is this point of control here at round about $1,800. which I remember was strong resistance way back here, February 2021. Strong resistance around about $1,800. So yeah, that's basically what I'm saying, right? So if for some reason the $2,000 level does not hold and we find sort of like acceptance below here inside of the red rectangle, then this low volume node here, which is around about $2,000, will now become resistance, just like this one here at 3,000 became resistance, and we go all the way back down to around about $1,500. Okay, I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said, I want to be very clear on this, so that you guys remember I was bullish. Okay, I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm bullish at these levels because we are at the fucking lows. Why should I be bearish at the lows, right? You want to be bullish. I just deleted that order block. You want to be bullish at the lows and bearish at the highs, right? But so yeah, there we go. That's basically what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this order block for a bounce. Perhaps this little low volume node could be the one that bounces there, 2078. Or maybe it could go a little bit lower and go all the way to the edge of this high volume cluster here, around about $1,800. Who knows, right? It could do something like this, like the range, right? Sweep the lows, get back inside the range, and then rally. I don't know. It really depends on what Bitcoin's doing, and this is the problem with trading alts, is that it all kind of hinges on Bitcoin. So anyway, that was ETH versus USD. Let's move on to ETH versus BTC. Actually, yeah, no, that's right. Let's do ETH versus BTC. And here we are. So I've got the yearly VWAP. We looked at this standard deviation at the top. The standard deviation of 2017. So this is 2017. I wish 2022. The VWAP closed here. This is the value area low. This is the value area high, and this is highlighted with this rectangle that you see here on the screen, right? So this is where the VWAP closed, and the value area high is way up here, as you can see from that circle there, right? And it has perfect confluence with the current year's VWAP at around about 70,500 sats. Okay, so I'm going to update these levels because this didn't hold shit. Okay, with the markets dumping, it just didn't hold, so that's now resistance. I'm going to delete all of these brush marks because they're irrelevant now. And including that one. I'll leave those on. So you can see that I've got two levels. I've got this level here, around about 71,800 sats, as potential support, right? You can see that the price has already kind of bounced there already. This is previous resistance, as you can see here, resistance, resistance, and resistance until we broke through it. We have not been tested. It's not tested yet as support, right? So I think that maybe on the first tap, when we get to this level here, to this first green line there, they're very likely that we find support there. We've already got a nice little bounce there, which is significant, but you know, we could go all the way down to here and still get a bounce, right? But the important level that I want you guys to pay attention to is this level here, okay? It's basically right on the trend line that started, this trend started way back in June 2021, okay? And this has been respected really, really well on ETH versus BTC. You saw that we had a little deviation here to the downside. I don't know if you guys were here at the time, but I did say that this could possibly be the best opportunity you got of buying Ethereum for a while. And in fact it was, and it rallied from there, right? And it outperformed Bitcoin. So at the moment, Ethereum is is it being outperformed? Not really, it's just going sideways. It's not being outperformed they're both performing shit compared to the US dollar. But Ethereum seems to be holding up a little bit better than Bitcoin. All right. So again, this is a level of support, 71,900. Let's say 72,000 sats, and then we've got here 70,600 for the next level of support. If we lose that, remember, if we lose that for whatever reason, remember that we could do a little deviation like we did here to the downside and still reclaim it. So don't think that this trend line, that's it, it's the be all and end all, and if you've broken that, that's it, we're all going to zero. It doesn't work like that, okay? These are approximation levels. All right, so there's always room for a little bit of maneuver. Okay, as you can see, these are arbitrary. You can move them around a little bit, and you can see that it's kind of like gives you taps in different places, right? So, you know, I just want you to draw attention to the yearly VWAP, the current year VWAP. It's also an edge of a high volume node there, and it has the trend line that has been active since 2021. So for me, there's plenty of confluence. That's all about the confluence and how many things point to the same area. Chances are that more traders are looking exactly at the same place if it has confluence. All right, so that's why it's a higher probability trade. So in terms of resistance, what I've got is 74,000 sats. This is resistance now until proven otherwise, okay, which is this level here. This is resistance until proven otherwise, and of course this level up here at 76,000 sats. If the price was to bounce there, these are the first levels of resistance that it will encounter. Okay, if we get all the way down there, then it's possible that this level that I highlighted here at 71,000, because we're going to be below it, that support turns to resistance, and that this will become resistance as well, as it is a low volume node. Okay, so if the price was to do something like this, come all the way down here, then you're guaranteed that this level here will be resistance. How strong it will be is anyone's guess. We'll have to have a look at that on Wednesday if we ever get there. I mean, if the price gets there before Wednesday, that's what I meant. Of course, we're going to get to Wednesday. We're all going to make it. So, meanwhile, let me just delete all those scribbles, because going back is just not working. Okay, so is everybody clear on that? Nice. Okay, so that's ETH versus BTC. Moving on to close that one. So now we move on to the DeFi coins. If you guys no objection, if you guys want me to explain anything else on Ethereum, then I'm more than happy to explain. But you know, everything hinges on Bitcoin, right? So if Bitcoin's dumping, you can forget about any TA that I do on these altcoins. Or on Ethereum or whatever, you know, Bitcoin is the barometer and the daddy, and everything just follows it. You know, you guys should know that by now anyway. Okay, so this range is now no more, so I'm going to delete that. Okay, obviously we've FODL versus Tether here, FODL versus USDT. We've lost that level of support, which is now read as resistance. Okay, it's important that we see that level reclaimed, but for now, if we don't see a reclaim of that level, then we've got just below us, we've got around about 11 cents, which is round about there. Put that as green. It's a big round number, okay? But ultimately, this one here, 10 cents, is the level that you want to be looking for, okay? Everybody always looks at big round numbers, so 10 cents is the level that perhaps it might be going to, okay? So that's on FODL versus USDT. FODL versus USDC, and this is on sushiswap, not on OkEx. Okay, it looks like we've just lost this level of support, so I'm going to put that as orange because it's not confirmed as resistance just yet. But you can see now that we're kind of all-time lows again. Okay, so this candle here doesn't count, large liquid candle at the initial listing, but there's no point of reference in terms of price action, so I cannot give you exact levels of support and resistance. I haven't even got volume bars, are all just in one straight line, right? So all you've got right now is the big round numbers at these levels. Okay, it's just that's just the way it is. Okay, all I can say to you is from previous price action here is that this level here will be resistance on the way up, around about 14 cents. Okay, so this will be resistance if we are to bounce here, for example, and the price does something like this and it goes up. This is going to be the next level of resistance, and then we'll probably rotate sideways until there's a bigger impulse. Unless, of course, there's some news. And you never know with FODL because there's a lot going on in the background. So anyway, that's FODL versus USDC on sushiswap. We've lost that preliminary level of support there. That could turn to resistance. That's why it's in orange. At the moment, that's not confirmed. We'll have to wait and see what happens when we bounce, if that level acts as resistance or if indeed this level acts as resistance. Okay, FODL versus ETH. Moving on swiftly. We're still kind of ranging. like I said to you guys, we had resistance up here, support down here, and we've also got a mid-level here, equilibrium. This equilibrium, I put it as a dotted line and faint because I wasn't really sure if it was going to hold as support or not. But one thing that I am noticing here is a drop in volume there. So in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this slightly. I'm going to put it there. Okay, you can see on the edge of this high volume cluster there. All right, so you can see what I've done there. So it is possible, and I'm going to do that here as well. It is possible, and this is not moving the goalposts. I'm looking at this low volume area, okay, like I do with everything. All right, so it is possible that we find a little bounce here and go to the resistance level again. All right, of course, this is also possible that we go straight below, retest it, and then go and test support. All right, this is just an interesting level in the middle of a distribution, right? So that's all I'm saying. So yeah, this could potentially be support here, but you know, in terms of, if you're not looking at volume, if in terms of price structure and whatever, you can see that basically this is previous resistance, resistance, resistance until we broke straight through it. So this is really the level that should act as support because it's largely untested, okay? And this large liquid candle means that this large liquid candle would be all but pretty much consumed again, okay, and retraced. So this is the level I'm interested in. This middle level could cause a little bit of problems, but on the way down, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving on to Binance Coin. Jesus, a bloodbath on Binance. Real bloodbath. So let me just delete all these scribbles because the range clearly didn't play out. Oh, hang on, I've just deleted another level there. Didn't mean to do that. Just the brush marks. All right. So these levels here were support, support, support. It'd been tested too many times, so now we went straight through it, okay? I did say that if we go straight through it, the next level of support would be this one here, okay? That's exactly where we've bounced so far, all right? So in the meantime, let me just change the colors here. This should be resistance now. I'm going to put that as red. Update this level here as well. This is now red as resistance. Okay, I'm going to take all those brush marks off. So if I was to take the VWAP off just for a second, you can see that overall this level here has only been tested, well, it's tested a couple of times here and another time there, right? So I do expect this level here, this red rectangle, to hold as support. And again, you can see what it is. It's a low volume area, right? So I expect that to hold as support. We had some nice reactions from there in the past. Okay, so of course, if we find acceptance below that, we're inside another volume cluster. So I expect, again, if price falls inside and then finds that this is resistance, it'll go and travel to the other side of the balance, and it'll come all the way down to 220. Excuse me, $220. Okay, but at the moment 320 is support until proven otherwise, or 328, 330. That's basically where we've bounced. Okay, the edge of this high volume cluster here. In terms of resistance, of course, previous support is going to turn to resistance, and it's a low volume node there as well. So I'm expecting this level here around about 360 to be the first level of resistance. Okay, and again this level here as support. So naturally the price is likely to just range in between these 2 points. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Resistance, support, price to range in between these 2 points. Okay, if we break to the downside, then eventually we'll go all the way down here, but these could be interesting levels of support. If we break to the upside, then of course, I'm not sure why I don't agree with that one there. I think this one should be lower down here, like that. Okay, so if we break to the upside, of course, then the next levels of resistance will be 375 and 389. Okay, So that's basically what I'm seeing right now. We just kind of go sideways inside of this little gap here between the red rectangle and the red line there. Okay. In fact, I should change the color of this as blue for bids. There we are. All right. I hope that makes a little bit more sense now. Moving on to Binance versus BTC. Okay, so we did tap that level of resistance. Okay, so this continues to be resistance until proven otherwise, and this level here is support until proven otherwise, and that's exactly what's been happening here. We keep getting rejected from this little mini cluster here, right? So naturally, what I expect the price to do, it's just kind of rotating between these two levels, right? If we break to the downside, we've got another level of support here, which is this low volume node, around about 9,875 sats, which is way down here. Right, and if we break that one to the downside, then this level here should be the next level of support, previous resistance as well, right? Of course, if we break to the upside, once we get to the top of this range here, then we've got a very significant cluster here, right? And this cluster is basically a it's basically where this range is, right? I don't know why it's not showing on the volume profile very well. But then, yeah, basically, if we break above 10,500 sats, which is unlikely at the moment, if somehow we break above that, then it's quite likely that we go and test the next level of resistance, which will be probably a little bit lower than that, just not to be too greedy. Right, around about 11,600 sats, okay? That's where I would expect this, and I'll put this as orange. That's what I expect the price to go to, okay? And then it would be trading, if we break above resistance, it'd be trading inside of there. But that's not confirmed, okay? We are just still between this red line and the first green line, okay? So, just to be clear, we're just doing this. All right? So moving on to Binance versus ETH. Again, we're still kind of like ranging in between levels, right? So the top red line here is resistance. Of course, the bottom green line is support. And the mid line here is equilibrium, okay? So this is a big range. The range can be divided into two. And so, as such, you see two mini ranges forming inside of that, okay? We broke out of the lower distribution of the lower range to the top of the distribution. The distribution, if you don't know what I'm talking about, is this balance area here. Okay, so we broke to the top side and we've tested that and it's confirmed it as support. So it looks like at the moment we could just be ranging up here at the top there, right? Of course, if we break to the downside, then we could be ranging to the bottom side, okay? Effectively, what you've got here is that this level here is very strong support, this level here is very strong resistance, all right? If I was to bet now, I mean, this level has been tested so many times now. Okay, we've even had a deviation there and tested again as support. So I'm not entirely sure this level is support until proven otherwise. It looks very strong, but it's been tested so many times. Okay, so if this gets tested to the downside, I wouldn't be hedging my bets on this holding as support. So just keep that in mind. Okay. I realized as soon as I said strong support, it's not really strong support. It's strong support if it hasn't been tapped. That's strong resistance. Okay, this is weakened support because it's been tapped so many times now. All right, so just a small correction and just so that you guys are aware. Okay, so this level might hold, it might not. It is a low volume area there, but like I said, it's been tapped so many times. Who knows, right? So just bear that in mind. Moving on to AAVE versus USD. Did I correct those levels there? Yeah, I did. Did I correct that one? Yes, I did all that. So AAVE versus USD. This level here should have held as support. It didn't. It's now resistance. Okay, and so it's safe to assume that this is no longer going to be at play. And we're basically at round about $117, okay, for AAVE. This is, I believe, oh no, There's plenty of support down. There's plenty of levels further down. Okay, so in fact, I'm going to put another level of support there. It's really quite hard to get this spot on there. Right. So we've lost that level of which is previous support. Now we have two resistance levels above, and we've got this last level of support down here. Okay. If we fail, this is the range that I expect the price to be in. If we fail that, I think the next range will be down here, and that's where we'll be trading. Okay, as you can see here, this has acted as support a couple of times. So will it act again? Possibly, but if it breaks down, at least you know where you got the next level, and that's at round about 93 cents. Okay, AAVE versus BTC. We are very much, let me just delete all of those scribbles. We're very much at support there, as you can see there, right? So we tested the midline at equilibrium, if you like. It acted as resistance, just like it had done before here, right? Acted as resistance, and of course it sent its way down. So I expect these levels down here to hold as support. The edge of this high volume cluster here, which is a weird volume cluster, it's got two distributions, right? It's got a one distribution there and one distribution there, as you can see, where the price has been ranging in both sides. But overall, you can see this as one big range, right? And as such, we are approaching now the lower edge of that range. Okay, so again, we're approaching support. If we break below that support, the next level will be way down here. And if we break above resistance, there's plenty of resistance above with edges of high volume clusters and low volume nodes as well. Okay, so that's what I'm saying right now. At the moment, I do think that this is just going to play out like this. It's just going to play inside of that for the next couple of weeks or so, until we've got some resolution with Bitcoin. AAVE versus ETH. Let me just see where we are with that. Okay, so we've lost some levels of support, so this is now resistance. I'm going to delete those scribbles now. Alright. So, we're no longer inside of that range. We've come out of that range now. So where's the next logical level of support? Well, this is previous resistance, this green line. So this is support. Okay, break down below that one, and then this one here is also support. Okay, so we could potentially, especially if we see sort of like a bit of drawdown on Bitcoin again to the lows, we could see the price come all the way down here and rotate there. All right, either way, this level here is now resistance, and so is this one up here. Okay, edges of a high volume clusters. All right, so that's what I've got for AAVE versus ETH. Compound versus USD. Wow, all these levels just completely smashed straight through. It's basically telling me that there's a lot of weakness and a lot of paper hands in these markets, right? So these levels are just not holding, and people are just selling at support, etc. So I suppose that's just the way the markets work. So this level here is no longer support. This level now is resistance. Even though it's not been tested yet. So I believe that the price now should be on its way down to, it's at 91 cents. It could go all the way to 90 or 80 cents. Okay, is this all-time lows? No. So we've had a bounce there before, right, at 81 cents. So it's on its way there, and this level here is resistance at around about $100. Okay, so at the moment, even if we retest that $100 level, don't get too excited. That should be, the first tap should be resistance anyway, because it's a high probability trade. It's, it's an SR flip that hasn't been tested yet, and then eventually perhaps do something like this. Okay, and the more a level gets tapped, the weaker it becomes. So just remember that. Okay, so something like this is what I believe is going to happen. Compound versus BTC. And okay, so one level that is actually holding, meaning that Compound has dumped just as much as Bitcoin. All right, so again, this level continues to be resistance. And this level here continues to be support. So I was just having a good look at that. Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's about right there. Okay, so this is resistance until proven otherwise. We could even argue there's two levels of resistance there. Okay, and that's just because the edge of this high volume cluster there. Like that. Okay, so delete those scribbles. So again, doing something like this. Okay, break to the downside. I think the next level of support will be way down here. Of course, we've still got that one there as well, but you know, this is proven to be good support so far. So and you can see here that we had some trapped bears with a big red candle to the downside at support that got trapped and liquidated. So if there's anybody left there, any liquidity left there to try and get out of break even, they would have got out of break even already. So if that comes down and starts testing this level, it'll be very quickly to get all the way down here. Compound versus ETH. Again, very much the same thing. We are at we've been at resistance. We're now approaching support again. And this is basically what I expect. I just expect the price to go sideways. Okay. If we break to the downside, obviously this is the next level. If we break to the upside, this is the next level. BAT versus USD. Interested to see this one. And it bounces exactly on the line that I put there. Okay. So you guys, some people say technical analysis doesn't fucking work. Doesn't matter what you look at. Might as well look at the cycles of the moon and astrology. It's all just bollocks. People don't understand it. So anyway, here we are, edge of a high volume cluster. That's basically why we bounced there. And so support until proven otherwise. Even though it's been tested a few times, we had a bounce there. Okay, so does it mean that it's going to be very strong support? Of course not. It's been tapped so many times. Okay, this here should be strong support, right? It's not been tapped yet. It's been tapped there once. All right, so if we break below this one, this is where we're going to go next, and it'll be quick as well because it's a low volume area. All right, so support, this is resistance. If we break below, it's this one. If we break above, it's that one. Moving on to BAT versus BTC. Again, support, resistance. Price will most likely just kind of like go sideways like that. Break to the downside. I think this level here should be the next level of support. If we break to the upside, then this is the next level of resistance. Moving on to BAT versus ETH. Very much the same thing. Nothing's changed since Friday. So BAT holding strong versus all the other coins. I mean, just dumping as much as the others. Of course, if you look at BAT USD, it did dump, right? But it didn't dump more than Bitcoin or more than ETH. It's just going sideways, all right? So not being outperformed in the slightest. So that's it, basically. You guys can pause the video and look at your levels of support and levels of resistance. Moving on to Link versus USD. Chain Link with a big red candle here, okay? Smashing through levels of support. And again, the same theory applies, like I said to you guys before, okay? In fact, let me put that red. That should now be resistance. So we've got a high volume cluster there. So this here could act potentially as strong support. Okay, I'm going to put another one here because it's an edge of a high volume cluster, as you can see there. Alright, so you can see that there. I'm going to put that just right on the edge there. That could be support as well. And then another one I'm going to put way down here. And another one way down here. Okay, so what do we got? Resistance. This one is no longer relevant, I don't think. And I think that in fact this is now support until proven otherwise, and this is strong support until proven otherwise. But overall, when you look at the whole thing, right, you can see that here, actually this is interesting. We lost a $10 level, okay, which was an important level, $10, okay, and we are now at $9.27. Okay, you can see that actually if you were to divide this into a high volume cluster like this, the low volume node is exactly where we are right now. Alright, so this is important support here. You can see that there, right? So I do think that the price has a very good chance of doing something like this and reclaiming that level. It needs to reclaim $10, okay? But of course, if it doesn't, then it will rotate sideways until it breaks to the downside. Okay, $10 is a very strong resistance level, but $8.80 looks like a very strong level of support because, like I said, it's a low volume cluster there. Okay, you can see that there. Alright, more importantly, of course, is this level here, around about $6.50 or whatever it is. You can see here from the volume. That should act as decent support there. Okay. That's what I'm seeing here at Link versus USD. So for now we are below $10. $10 will remain resistance, and support we've got around about $8.80, $9, something like that. Link versus BTC. Very much where we were last week. Not much in the way of change. We continue to hold this as resistance and hold this as support, even though we've not tested any of those levels yet. But this is basically what I expect the price to do, okay? Even if it's deviations to the downside or whatever. Alright, moving on to Link versus ETH. Same situation, okay? We've not tested either side yet, but this is going to be resistance and this is going to be support. And that's just the way it is, right? So at the moment, we're just kind of going like that. Of course, this could go a little bit lower, and it could do something like this before it joins onto that, you know. So resistance, support. Okay. Moving on to Uni versus USD. Now this looks a mess already. Let's see if at least I was right. Move this out of the way a minute. Okay, so we hit there a couple of days ago, so this was already resistance. We already knew that. And we'd already touched that there, but we didn't go to the bottom. So I just said that basically down here is support, and down there and up there is resistance until proven otherwise. And that's basically what it's doing. We've already tested that level as resistance anyway. So now we just need to test this bottom level here as support. And then we start rotating sideways. Uni versus BTC. Interesting. So we're back at resistance here. Okay. So ultimately, this is resistance, that red line, right? But then again, so is this, the entry to the next sort of balance area, right? Which I had here as a green rectangle there. All right. So basically, if this was to be reclaimed, we still have to reclaim that level there and confirm that as support. Okay. If we confirm that as support, we've got a strong chance to go to the next level of resistance. All right, traveling basically inside of this cluster. All right. Am I seeing evidence of that? No, we're seeing evidence that there's plenty of sellers at these levels here, so now it should be going down. Okay, when it goes down, this here is the first level of taking profit, and then this here is the level of support, the first level of support. But ultimately, we could end up going all the way down here. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing on. This is actually a really good example. So let me just delete all that, and I'll just take 5 minutes to explain this. All right, so we came from a higher distribution. Let me show you the highlighter. We come from a higher distribution, this distribution here, right? Come from that one. We tested the edge of that balance here, right? Came back down. Support didn't hold, this low volume node. So we came back inside the next distribution, tested the edge, which we've done here, got rejected. What do? We travel all the way to the other side of that balance, right? So let me just trace it for you guys. Right? Come all the way to the edge of the balance. Tested there twice. Could not get above this low volume node. Right? Come all the way back down. We find acceptance inside because we can't get back above this low volume node. Right? So we travel to the other side of the balance. There's a low volume node there. What does the price do? Rallies to that, confirms that this is indeed resistance now. Goes to find balance below. And now we're inside this distribution here. Right? So now we've just come up and we tested that resistance. Where you know, where do you think it's going to go next? Right? Come up. Test the edge of this high volume cluster. Where's it going to go next? Well, it's going to go down, right? The only thing that gets in the way is this low volume node and this low volume node. So we could find support there and we could find support there. But ultimately, it's going to go from here to here. And this is ultimately the range that you want to be trading. All right? So a little bit of a lesson in market dynamics, I guess, in volume. Finally, Uni versus ETH. Okay, so a couple of days ago we'd bounced there. I put a little range there. I can't remember exactly, but if I put a little range there, that means that we'd already been there. Yeah, a couple of days ago. So this is like 5-6 candles ago. So yeah, basically what we're looking at right now is that this has been confirmed as support. This middle point here, right? If this has been confirmed as support, then the next level of interest is this level here. Okay, this was previous support, it's now going to be resistance. Okay, so of course the price is likely to do something like this. If however we lose this middle level here, then the next level of interest will be this one down here. It will be doing something like this, come and test that edge, confirm that as resistance, and then go all the way back down again. Okay, which is possible. If we lose this level of support here, the 0.5, the equilibrium if you like, we're going to go to this level. If we lose this level, we're going to go to this one. And this is resistance until proven otherwise. If we break back above this one, the next level of resistance is this one, as you saw here. Right? Break above that one, this is the next level of resistance, as you saw that one there. It's really quite simple. So meanwhile, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that this was educational and it helps you stay on the right side of the trades. I'm just having a quick look at Bitcoin and see if we've got there yet. Now, I just have to exercise my fucking patience, which I'm not very good at. But yeah, I'll have to exercise my patience and just wait for the levels, okay? And that's basically what we do. We just wait for the right levels, and once it gets down there, then I'll be interested in taking it long. The reason why I'm patient and I don't want to enter just yet, and I'd rather miss out on the move, is because this has got good risk to reward, okay? If I was to enter here and this kind of continues to go down, what am I going to do? DCA? That's bullshit. I don't like putting money on a losing trade, okay? I cut the trades as soon as they start losing money. So anyway, that's enough alpha for today. I hope this technical analysis updates helps you stay on the right side of the trades. And in the meantime, have a good week, and I shall see you guys on Wednesday, and I'll try and do the TA update in the morning because, like I said, at 1:30 p.m. here in the UK, we've got that CPI meeting in the United States, which is going to cause volatility, and I don't like doing technical analysis updates when there's volatility, okay? So I'll try and do it in the morning so that it's just in time for you guys to, excuse me, to be prepared for that volatility, if that makes sense. So until then, speak to you guys soon.